Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. Episode 11. Check the Wire Podcast Live Edition. Ryan, what's going on, man?
Not too much. I am. Oh, dude, the overlay.
Yeah.
Let's go.
We had double. I had the double play ready to go.
It was funny because a mutual friend of ours who I will not name to protect them said, "Isn't it funny that Dan's overlay is backwards?" He showed me that you were Krendor and Krendor was you.
So
there you go. It's fixed.
So I learned that yesterday. I'm like, you got to have both ready to go, and because you never know what you're gonna get. You know? But speaking of never know what you're gonna get, Ryan, what's been going on in your past 7?
Past 7's been pretty good. You know, it's very routine ever since the quarantine stuff. It's just been a lot of, you know, every Monday is the same, every Tuesday is the same, every Wednesday, Thursday, et cetera, et cetera. So I can't complain. I'm in the routine and I'm having a good time and I'm excited to be here. You have had a little bit more of an exciting past 7.
Well, before we do that, I'm gonna hit you with a little bit left field question. What's the number one thing you miss most outside of working out and going to the gym since the big Q's been upon us?
Yeah, you kind of took my answer there. I'm still sane, but I'm like a little bit starting to lose it just working out with dumbbells in my office because it's so limited. But the other number one thing that I miss, I guess, is like literally just having the option to leave the house after work. Like probably like once or twice a week, Kate and I would go out to eat. And it's just nice to not be in your own space when you're done work. Now it's like, even if we order something in, we're still at home. And I like being at home, but I'm definitely like, I'm eager when this is all over to get out there. And I think there's going to be a weird period of appreciation where everybody enjoys everything more than they've ever enjoyed it again in their entire life.
I think that's pretty good insight in terms of because you live, for context, Ryan lives in a city, I live in the suburbs. Can you or do you go out and like get literal fresh air, or is that like a no where you're at?
You can definitely you can go out for a walk, you can go out for like a bike ride and stuff like that, but I mean, apart from that, it's pretty secluded, or it's supposed to be like isolated as well. But it is hard. Like it's borderline impossible to stay like 2 meters away from people. Like when I see people on the sidewalk walking, like one of them will be walking on the sidewalk and then like someone will be walking like in the road to try to stay away from them. So it's definitely a little touchier, but you know, it is what it is. My perspective on this is that, you know, because I'm forced to be inside, we're all forced to be inside. It's kind of a unique opportunity to work a little different and maybe even work a little harder. But, you know, you just got to deal with it. How about you? I'm very eager to know your perspective because like you also have 2 kids that are super young. So I feel like that's even more taxing than it otherwise would be, but also maybe more, you know, rewarding as well.
Yeah, it's kind of like a double-edged sword, right? So on like the best part of the sword is I get to spend a lot more time with them than they, you know, if they weren't at their school or whatnot. But at the same time, like when the figurative 2-liter pop gets shooken up, normally be like, hey, you know, auntie, whoever, come over, come hang out, or you're in the fuzz. But it's a lot of fun and it's really enjoyable. But you know, I feel like my patience has grown so much because there is no other option, right? It's not like you can just pull the ripcord and be like, yeah, grandma, grandpa, come over. It's like there's no ripcord. You go to pull and it's like you're all you got. So so it's just kind of finding you know, a lot of appreciation in the daily moments. But the one thing that I've been really trying to fight a little bit is not, and we've talked about that, is not just working, because we could work all day, and now it's like there's even a built-in excuse. Oh yeah, I'm just working because what we do is we're in. But yeah, no, I just, you know, I enjoy it. And, but I'm a little bit different because I'm in the suburbs. It's like if someone's walking down the street, there's a lot of room to get around. But I'll tell you, I don't know if I told you this or not, but for the first time in probably like 30 years, like we flew a kite. And if you would have told me that 6 months ago, I'm like, flying a kite, it's actually a lot of fun. It's like you're harnessing nature and trying to like fight it. I'd recommend it if it's available in your area. But But enough about that. Behind the fourth wall. Let's talk about something you and I've been talking about, and we tried to line it up initially on the business end of things, of doing like a YouTube premiere. And we're gonna, for context, myself, Ryan, and Michael A. L. Fox have a challenge series going on YouTube called Golden Goblet. We're gonna say, hey, let's try to do a premiere and do it all at the same time. It didn't work out, but I did a premiere for the first time, and I learned a lot. There were some good things and there were some bad things. Before I share that though, what is your experience, and also what have you heard about Premiere, both good and bad? Like, what's your impression of it when you say YouTube Premiere?
Yeah, so a YouTube Premiere, for anyone who's not aware, is like a release of a video that let's say you schedule like a premiere for 9 a.m. Instead of being able to, the video comes up, you can skip through it on the timeline yourself. You could skip to the end. You could comment, see what happens, blah, blah, blah. It plays live and unskippable as if it's a stream. And instead of looking at comments that are kind of asynchronous down at the bottom, it has a synchronized chat on the sidebar. So it's almost like watching a simulated live experience, or like watching like a television premiere with a live chat on the side. So when it was announced, I was like, I think this is kind of a cool idea, because of the fact that it simulates like the best part of the live experience, which is having a live chat with reactions. Although you can't really like take feedback from the live chat and then, feed it into the video stream, but still. And it also has, I guess it doesn't have the benefit of YouTube, but when you put out the video as a premiere, it is afterwards available for everybody to watch at all times. So I kind of thought it was like the best of both worlds. But then when people started doing it, everything that I heard was like, the concept is really interesting, but people get super annoyed when they see a video that they can click on. And when they click on it, it's just a timer to when they can actually watch the video. So they almost feel tricked by YouTube into like, hey, this is not something I can actually consume right now. So that's what I've heard about premieres. I've never done one myself. And honestly, I would have done one this week if I didn't also get shoved into the new YouTube studio. Like, I don't know if you've been on that, or if maybe you've been using it for a long time, but I've been using Creator Classic for, a decade or whatever. And originally they were like, by the end of March, Creator Studio Classic's going away. And then the quarantine stuff happened and they kind of pushed it. And I was like, that's great for me. And then like 4 days ago, I got stuck on new YouTube Studio. So I'm still figuring out my workflow for that. But
so you don't have the option to go to Classic anymore. They just removed it for you.
I think maybe you might be able to sneak in, like Indie Mouse actually was telling me, here's an actionable tip if you're stuck on it. If you go in new YouTube Studio, if you go to playlists, it yeets you back to the classic version. And then from there, you can navigate Classic as if it was still available. But there's no link anymore that's like, go to Classic. So that was my experience with premieres, like up to this point. But I'm eager to see, because I wanted to do it as well. But I'm eager to hear how it went for you, beyond what you've told me in the back end.
Yeah, so let's talk about the good things first. Good thing was, it was cool to be able to talk directly. So I didn't just set the premiere and then I didn't go. I'm like, all right, if I'm going to do this, I want to be there so I can see what happens, so I can talk to people. And so one of the strongest things, because I don't have anything written down about what I remember about it, was just that I could talk to people directly that I normally is like you said, an asynchronous conversation. People that I've seen in the comments forever that aren't on Twitch. It's like it was another cool way to talk to them in real time. So that was something I didn't expect. Another really cool thing about it was there was a lot of like back and forth banter about what's going on in the video, instead of just one sentence. And it's like, oh, hey, I like the video. It's like, hey, this is what I liked. What did you think of this? So to be able to have that conversation was cool. And I would 100% do it again. I would do it again for a very special video. Maybe if it was like a 100th episode, or a special like hype video or something, but I would do it in a very different way, because whenever you upload the video and you set it to premiere, whenever you do that, that's when it shows up for everyone. So if I were to do it, it's going to take a little bit more work, but say I wanted it to premiere Monday at 10 a.m. Eastern, I would upload it Monday and try to time it so it was up around like 9:30, 9:45, because one of the big complaints when I was in there is like, hey, what did you guys like about this? What did you didn't? It's exactly what you said. I had to look at this thumbnail of the video I wanted to watch for 24, 36 hours before I could actually watch it. So then I completely understand. Like that's like it would be annoying to anyone. So like you can't directly control it through YouTube, but I think you can kind of minimize that, which I think that would be a big change. And then the other thing was unexpected, and like people were giving money during the video. I'm like, I didn't even know you could do that. It was like,
so it's linked up to like the super chat stuff on YouTube side.
Yeah, which I thought was like only for live streaming on YouTube, which from my understanding, our Twitch contract, which I don't think we can talk about, we can't stream on another platform.
Yeah.
So that was completely unexpected, you know, and it was just like, it's like you didn't know there was a feature of even to do that. So when people are doing that, it's like, wow, you know, I really appreciate that. But that wasn't the point of doing it. So I liked it. I would 100% do it again, but I would save it for something very special.
You know what I would be interested to see, and I'm actually, because I'm interested enough, I'm gonna go check on this.
Yeah.
If you'll give me 1 second here. So my hypothesis is that when you have a premiere, you're gonna get more comments than you would have if you had just uploaded it normally, because people are chatting and like they're reacting live instead of just maybe like one time after the video is over. So I wanted to see here. I don't know. Does the live chat carry over to the VOD?
That's a good question. I haven't even looked at it myself either.
I'm like, I don't know. This doesn't seem like it carries over actually. So maybe not. All right, ignore that hypothesis. But what I was thinking in my head was like, you know, if it encourages that kind of discourse, then it might actually like push it higher algorithmically because of the number of comments, which I think is important to the YouTube algorithm. But if it shows up in chat replay instead of in the comments section, I have no idea.
Yeah, I could tell you it definitely does not show up in the comments, because all the comments that I see were ones of people who saw the thumbnail.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, that'd be interesting to see. I wonder if people saw the premiere thumbnail more often than if they didn't, you know.
Yeah, that would be interesting.
And it was cool. It was like people kept showing up. I think it like peaked at like 60 to 70 live viewers, which to me is just another way to, you know, talk to people that maybe you normally wouldn't get a chance to talk to. Could you ever see yourself using Premiere for anything?
Yeah, I think now that you've done the hard part of like eating it on uploading it early, I think that's like really good advice. So I'm trying to think of like what situations where I would use it. Like, I certainly like maybe it's tough because it's a big video. So you're like, it was special, but at the same time, if it goes wrong, it's like really bad. But I think maybe when the Isaac DLC comes out, doing like an episode 1 or at least some like early episode with a premiere could be kind of interesting. Or for things like a subscriber milestone video, because not only then is it building a little hype, but I can be in the comments, and when people are like, "Oh, it's cool to see this," I could be like, "Yeah, you should also subscribe," so that we can get to the next one in shorter than like 6 months. So. Yeah, I think that there might be a use case for these for sure. I think it's definitely an interesting. I think it's an interesting tool. I'm disappointed that, I mean, we've talked about it before, but like the culture on YouTube and Twitch are different, and some things that work on Twitch don't work on YouTube and vice versa. I kind of hoped that this element of the Twitch experience could carry over like well to YouTube and maybe even be strictly better than just uploading the video and then kind of sending it out there. But it seems like it's a little bit more mixed, but I think it's interesting nonetheless. Like, I think there might be a place for it.
I think it would be really interesting to see if you did an early like top, you know, one of your first 5 videos of the new Isaac DLC. I would think that people would be like stoked out of their gourd to just, you know, even if it's just a one-time thing, it'd be people that, like you said, like you've never maybe talked, or that I said you've never talked to before.
Yeah.
But I think like it's kind of like anything else, in my opinion. You know, when there was kind of that mini mass exodus from YouTube saying, oh, this is, you know, it's never going to go back, or maybe even people shying from premieres. I don't know. I just feel like if there's not a lot of people doing it, it doesn't necessarily make it not a good thing. It may just be not, you got to find a way to use it that wasn't intended or a different way. But I think it would be cool. So do you think, I mean, we're not going to hold your feet to the fire, but could you see yourself scheduling one in the
Yeah,
near future?
maybe like I'm thinking, because who knows when the Isaac DLC will come out. But I'm thinking that it would be interesting to try it for like the Smash subscriber milestone. So I'll soft commit to that right now, assuming the schedule works out, that I will like premiere the Smash episode. I'll try to make sure it uploads like less than 30 minutes before it's supposed to premiere in the first place, and be in the comments for it as well. Because I think I mean, we've talked about it before, but like, we're uploading like multiple videos a day. We do streams like almost every day of the week, if not every day of the week. If, 1 out of 4,000 videos for a year, well, that's a slight exaggeration, but not by much. If like 1 out of 2,500 videos for the year has people going like, I didn't really like the way that this was handled, then so what, you took a very, very small risk to try something new. Maybe it works out, maybe it doesn't. And I think that's important to keep things fresh. So why not give it a try?
Yeah, and the other thing too is in terms of like doing the premieres, I just feel like if someone were to see that on your channel or my channel, like it's like I think you may even just draw some interest from someone that would normally maybe not see it. Like just because it's a little bit out there and a little bit different and a little bit like against the grain, I think you may pull some people in. That's just on my opinion. I don't know if that's it just seems like if there's someone that you really like their videos and you saw that, you probably would at least give it a second glance as opposed to, I'm speaking like a casual fan, not someone that watches all your stuff. I don't know. I think there could be some sauce to that. Just my opinion.
I also think like if I mean premieres are done so rarely on YouTube. I think if I was scrolling through the homepage and I saw like someone I liked had uploaded 2 videos, and one was like a premiere in progress and one was something that had been uploaded like 6 hours ago, I'd probably be more likely to watch the premiere in progress, just because like live chat is more interesting than static comments, I think.
Well, and that's the other thing that was kind of interesting is that I was watching the video like with everyone, but I was able also to do other stuff as well. So it's kind of like live engagement, like following the chat, but also I think I was either doing a thumbnail or scheduling at the same time. So, and it's rare that you get the opportunity to do that, because if you're on Twitch, it's not like you can like do something else. So I don't know. I just tried to find a way to do it. But I will say this, I knew right away when I uploaded to that early, it was like, like it's like you burn the bridge. You got to stay there now. So that was something that I tried this past week. Another thing we tried, and I think you have some thoughts on this, is I was just messing around on the dashboard. It was during a live show, and I don't know if I was looking to run ads or something, and I saw this button. It's like start a watch party, because I saw like a few people tweet about it a month ago saying, oh, I got into the watch party. I'm like, oh, like that'll trickle down eventually, and it just showed up. So it showed up just on my end. What's your take on it on the Twitch? Well, do you want to explain a Twitch watch party and then tell people what it is?
So a watch party, really all of this stems from the fact that Amazon is Twitch's parent company. So Amazon Prime offers a bunch of movies and television programs. Twitch partners in America, and I think Twitch affiliates in America now, that are subscribed to Prime can watch with their chat some Prime shows on their stream, and some Prime movies as well. Now, this is I actually need your insight for this. I know that for now, I think it's also restricted to US audiences only. And I think the audience is only eligible if they're also Amazon Prime subscribed. Okay. So it is like, it's a limited service. Like it cuts down on the mass appeal for sure. But it's also like a lifelong dream to just like really me playing FMV games and stuff like, Detroit Become Human. And, I played like another FMV game called The Complex last week, all stems from like that Mystery Science Theater 3000 style of just like riffing over kind of cheesy content, and also having a chat there to make quips at or to make quips of as well. So it's an opportunity to kind of like bring that atmosphere to your chat as well. Now because it's so limited right now. I mean, I'm not sore about it. I was making jokes about it in the back end, but I understand like it's complicated, right? You're dealing with television shows that were like made in America. So maybe the American rights have been sold to American Amazon Prime, but in Canada, you know, those rights belong to Global, and Global doesn't do things with Amazon Prime. Instead, they work with Hulu. So, you know, like, to sort out that rights stuff worldwide is like, I don't even know if it's possible. So I have not gotten my hopes up at all, but I hope that they can get there one day. But I'm interested to hear how it went for you as well, because I'm not even able to watch the watch party to get a postmortem. So all I can do is watch the chat on the side.
So just to give you some insight on how it works, so you click it, and then there's a list. I'd say it's a fairly generous list. I'd say maybe, if I had to guess, 50 to 100 movies and shows. So it's not like the full arsenal of Amazon Prime Video, which, if you have Amazon Prime and you're not you get the video library for free. If you're not using it, it's really good. There's some really good stuff there. But so I saw a bunch of like movies. There's like stuff you would like Avengers and other snooze movies like that. But also there's some good series, and I've been getting back into Survivor a little bit, and I missed like probably 20 seasons of Survivor. So I'm like, all right, let's do a season of Survivor. And I picked one that I'd never seen. Before I talk about how it went, I'm walking a very fine line, because this opens up another can of worms. But when I started live streaming on Twitch in 2012, I got off reality TV for the second time. And I'm super grateful for the opportunity. 95 to 90%, I'd say 95% of my first audience on Twitch was all reality TV Big Brother people. And it's really taken me 6 to 7 to 8 years for people to come on Twitch and be like, oh, hey, that's, you know, it's cool seeing you play Tarkov. Oh, you were on reality TV. And it, like, to be able to not fight out of a box, but to be able to have two boxes to be able to go in from, and it has taken a lot of hard work and just staying at it. So to then all of a sudden jump back in this reality TV box, I was like a little cautious, but at the same time, it's something I really wanted to watch. It wasn't like, oh, let me watch. It was either like watch that or watch The Hunters, but that's just what I wanted to watch. So I'm like, okay, we'll try it. So I just want to play that caveat, because I'm going to tell you what happened after the watch party that concerned me a little bit. So we watched an episode of Survivor, and it was really easy to set up. Like, you just put your camera in one corner, and it was like really seamless. It was back in the day, to give even more context. I did this for Big Brother on Twitch before there were watch parties. I would have like say, all right, hey, start your episode now, and we'd watch it during like a live season. So that, and it was kind of like, it was like 8-second, 10-second delays, kind of like not really that good. This is extremely seamless. So whatever, like, we're all seeing the same thing at the same time, which to me was really impressive, just due to latency, and they had it figured out. So it was a really cool experience. And I had plans to watch one episode of Survivor, then play Animal Crossing. Then it was just a wave of chat just saying one more. And if you've never seen Survivor, the way the show's edited, it's like they lead you into the next episode, and it's really well done. So we end up watching another one, and it's really good. We picked a really good season, and then we watched another one. So it was like two more, one more. We don't end up playing Animal Crossing. So it was really fun. It's a really fun experience. I would definitely recommend it. My only thing that happened after, so like everyone loved it. It was a good experience. Like, I do those polls. It was like 100% unity. Let's do it again. A couple of things I didn't like about it is what you said. I really don't like that it excludes anyone. There were, European people tuned in that could only see like my face, and they're like, hey, we want to watch too. So anytime like you exclude an audience, I want to do the opposite. Like, it just, I really, that's hard for me to be like, hey, here's content, but you can't watch it.
Yeah.
And then, but the other thing that happened was on the Monday show, everyone's like, hey, when's Survivor? When can we watch Survivor again? When's she got Survivor again? And I had to take a step back and be like, okay, look, it's just because people are excited about it, not like, hey, you're back in this reality TV box. But to encapsulate everything, I think it's an interesting scenario to talk about, because how do you feel about creating content that's not really your content?
Oh, I would do it 100%.
Really?
But I think I'm unusual in the like YouTuber streamer camp, that I already years ago have come to terms with the fact that what we do piggybacks off of what other people do. And I've been vocal about this in the past. I think a lot of streamers have like a double standard, where if somebody uses their content to be entertaining. Like if you play one of their clips, this is not meant to be a shot at the clip show, but if like an outlet takes one of their clips and then uses it on their show, they're like, that's not fair use. But meanwhile, they'll play through like a whole game or 100 whole games on their Twitch channel. And if anybody's like, hey, like I'm not going to watch because of spoilers, they get like bent out of shape about it. Or, you know, if anyone's like, hey, maybe there's a chance that, because there was a huge argument for like, I don't know, 3 or 4 years in the content creation community back before publishers and developers became more YouTube and Twitch friendly, of like, hey, if I'm building like a story-driven game that's only like 2 or 3 hours long, should I send it to YouTubers, or should I even allow YouTubers to play it? Because surely that'll cannibalize some sales. You know, like for example, I don't know how, like The Walking Dead Season 1 was a great game. A lot of people bought it, obviously. It was very successful, but at the same time, I'm sure that a lot of people didn't buy it because they watched, you know, a huge YouTuber play it and said like, well, I've already seen it all. Same with something like Life is Strange or Life is Strange 2. And you know, it's kind of a different topic for conversation. I think it's somewhere in the middle. I think that it probably does cannibalize some sales, but I also think it does give some exposure as well. But so for me, I've always kind of been in the position that's like, what we do is on like is a pretty narrow thread that relies on a lot of talented people before us in like the supply chain, and then all we do is go live and like make fun of it and kind of reap the benefits on that end. So for me, in a strange way, piggybacking off of someone else's content to make it my own content is not unusual, because I feel like that's what we already do to some extent to begin with. So I don't find that disconcerting at all. The exclusion stuff is more what I would be annoyed by, because I would, not that I would be worried that the content wouldn't be good, but I would be worried that the chat environment would be a lot of people that are like, I can't watch this, I can't watch this, I can't watch this. I'm hopeful that they can get the right stuff sorted out. Like my hope 100% is that at the bare minimum, like I don't think I'm getting the Avengers in Canada anytime soon to watch. I'm sure that's like, there's contracts there that have contracts with subcontractors.
Like just for you to watch, or you're talking about watch on Twitch?
To watch on Twitch.
Okay.
I don't know what services. I think the Avengers is on Netflix in Canada, and probably Disney Plus now. So like, again, I honestly just have no idea. But bare minimum, I think it is. I'm hopeful that they will be able to roll it out so you can at least watch Amazon Prime original movies and TV shows with watch parties worldwide. And honestly, my dream is like, I don't want to watch, like you said, I don't want to watch Hunters with my Chad. I mean, if there was a bounty, we could talk about it for sure. But like trashy reality TV, I would love to watch with my Chad. Like, can you imagine watching 90 Day Fiance?
I would jump right to Marcel's season and try to like co-op and do. I mean, come on, like.
I think it could be amazing. So I'm hopeful that they get there, and I'm patient. I know it's going to take forever. Like this kind of stuff is super complicated. I mean, when you look at the difference between like American Amazon Prime and Canadian Amazon Prime, there's a lot of divergences and stuff like that. Sometimes it works out better for us. Sometimes, usually, it works out worse. But you know, I'm hopeful we can get there, because I would definitely like, I could see like replacing like 10% of my streaming content with watch parties easily. Like I could, when I'm like, right now, I don't know what I'm going to play on Sunday, right? I'm like, is wide open. If I had watch parties, I would be like, oh man, we could do whatever we wanted on site. We could make fun of like the Top Gear series or something like that.
If it didn't alienate your audience, or even with like, say it comes out for Canada and it's only Canada, US, would you still integrate that, you think? Yeah,
I will. Maybe. I would really like it. So I'm not gonna say that I would only do it if it's worldwide. Yeah. But really, what I would like to see is Canada, US, and the largest Central and Western European countries, and Australia, New Zealand. Like, I think that's. I'm not gonna say that's my bare minimum, but it's close. Okay. If they could do like Canada, US, Australia, New Zealand, United Kingdom, all the British Isles, Germany. If we got there, I would be like, all right, I would probably consider it at that point.
So you started saying something. I'm like, brother, it's never happening. Like, you're never getting Avengers. But what you did say that I think is doable. the Amazon original content. I'm like, that's really insightful because Amazon owns it. They can do whatever they want with it. So you may have to watch Hunters and things like that, which Hunters is okay. But I want
it's listen, I don't want to bite the hand that feeds.
Yeah.
I'm not saying Hunters is a bad show. It's just for me that's more like I'm sitting there just like eating popcorn and watching like a decent to good show.
Yeah.
I would much rather watch something that's like one of those garbage reality shows like, hey, we put 10 hot people on an island, but they all have to wear blindfolds for 30 days and they have to choose who they're going to marry. So I could just sit there and be like, look at this guy. What's this guy? Come on, look at this guy. What's he doing?
Well, during the Survivor episode, I found myself like doing that kind of stuff and I had to pull back because I'm like, these are like real people that I'm like loosely affiliated with, but if they're complete strangers, I would do that. But I think you bring up an interesting conversation in terms of, you talk about like playing clips of someone else's stuff. And like you said, some people like may get mildly bent out of shape out of that. I'm on the opposite end. Like if like when people say, hey, can I take this asset or can I clip this? And I'm like, yeah, do it. Because the way I look at it, it's like free amplification. And like I have a specific example on my end. There's this guy, Insane in the Rain Music. I'm like, hey, I reached out to him like, hey, can I play some of your songs on the show? He's like, yeah. And I don't know, I don't know what the 1-to-1 is, but every 5 to 10 minutes, who is this music, and we have a link. And I just think there's a general amplification that if you're just like, don't use my clip, like you're losing out on it's like passive content that you don't have to do anything for, that may give you a shot to bring people in. So that's why my take on it is, and someone sent Zane the editor a message saying, hey, can I have Dan's 2009 Ford Escape overlay? And I'm like, yeah, dude, take it. I don't care. Like, take it. I don't care. But with the same token, it felt a little weird because it's like different when you're playing a game and providing commentary versus like watching a completely polished product. Not that games are not polished, but it requires input from you. Like Survivor, like it's kind of like it was almost kind of like what you said with like Hunters. Like you're watching a good show, but I think it's a little different because I could provide some like experiential insight.
There's a competitive aspect too and stuff like that. Like you can give commentary on that.
Yeah.
Versus like a fiction show that's like, it's tight.
Yeah. So I think that was kind of the sweet spot. But moving forward, I definitely want to do more. I just, because like I know for a fact we'll at least finish the season Survivor, and then from there maybe wait, just because it's either you could do that and present something to a portion of your audience, or stream and provide it to everyone. So, but all in all, I think it's a really cool feature. I think we're a lot closer to getting a Amazon original stuff than maybe before. But I don't know. I think at the end of the day, I think it goes back to what we talked to a few episodes ago about being able to branch out and do different stuff. And it might have been even in your vlog that you talked about, that we referred to a lot. But it's just like another sliver where if someone doesn't like Isaac, or they don't like, card games or FMV games, they may like, your watch party. So I don't know.
And I mean, like, it's just, this is why I'm glad that you and I have the same kind of like gratefulness about the industry. Cause I'm like, we literally, if watch parties hit like a critical mass where they're available to watch for like, let's say like more than 2/3 of the Twitch audience, you have the last spot in the supply chain for that content. You do the least and you get like so disproportionately rewarded for it, and people have a great time. It's like literally like somebody built the whole house for you and put the plumbing in, put the electrical in, set up the Wi-Fi and like the phones and the cable and all that stuff. And all you're doing is like, here's the house. I guess I'm not trying to take a shot at real estate agents specifically. The metaphor kind of went there, but it's like these are like $1 million productions per episode sometimes, and then you just kind of show up and you're like, click, whoa, what's that guy doing? And people are like, thank you, you've gotten me through some hard times. It's great. It's you occupy the most beautiful, the most prized spot in the chain.
I will say this, outside of like worrying about the two boxes, reality TV and gaming, I found myself like I was talking and being invested in the show like I was would be on my couch, and it was a really fun experience, and it didn't feel like once I got over the fact, all right, maybe don't make fun of the people as much. It was like it's different. It's a little bit different than streaming because you're not as actively physically involved, so you can like do a lot more stuff. Like, hey, what do we think of? I think the guy's name was Culpepper, and everyone's just like, "Hey, Kona spam in chat," and like, so it was just a really fun experience. And like, I think maybe even just talking about this now, I think you got me a little more pogged up about it because it's like a unicorn type thing, and I don't know if I didn't appreciate it, but I don't know. It just you're kind of like, yeah, it is really good. It's a really good deal. And it's fun.
If it was Canada and US only, I would probably do some content. But what I would do is this: I would apply, like for now at least, the same philosophy that is like sponsored content. As long as it doesn't take away from anything that everybody can see and is used to. Because like if I lived in Sweden and I was like, oh, I'm gonna watch Dan's like Friday show or whatever, it's the only show I get, and then it's like you can't watch it all because it's a Survivor watch party, I might feel like, I'm not gonna say betrayed, but I would be like, oh, that's crappy, like this isn't what I subscribed for.
Here's the velvet rope, how's it?
Yeah, exactly. So but if it's like, oh well, NL normally streams 1 to 4 on Sundays, instead now he's doing 11 to 4, the first 2 hours are like, he's watching some awful like Sharknado 6 on Amazon Prime, and then the other part is the normal sub stream we get anyway. I think people would be more open to that. But again, I mean, it's easy to say, but like time is at a premium to begin with. But
so and that's the other thing I did, because I'm like, okay, after the first episode it was interesting, and I think this gives you some like tactical stuff that happened when the episode was on. It was like probably like around 350 to 375 people watching. And then the second the episode ended, it would spike up to like 450, 475. I don't know how or why. So I'm like, okay, like how can I not give advice on how to watch this live if you're not in the US? So what I started to do is I'd pull up a timer. This is episode 2 and 3. I pulled the timer up and I would start the second it would start. I would hit the timer. So if you were to somehow able to watch the same show somewhere else, I'm not saying to you do anything gray hat, but if you wanted to sync up, that timer was just there for my end to just see how long we were going. Wink, wink.
I understand. Yeah.
So I think there could be. I don't think that's, as long as I don't know the terms and conditions, but it's not like I wasn't promoting people.
I don't think that's like a gray area. I think like 10 years ago it would be, but now, like, at least here's my experience as a Canadian. Yeah, I mean, maybe we don't have Survivor on Amazon Prime, but we have Survivor on CBS All Access.ca or Hulu or Crave or whatever the service is. So, I mean, I would assume at this point that they probably have legal access, even if it's not through Amazon, to watch the show. Not that everybody's subscribed to all of those, because that's kind of insane, but I would be more likely to think that they're not going out and like stealing the show, and instead they're just like, oh, in Sweden we have like this, we have the Tri-Crown video service where it's on or something.
Yeah, which I think is cool that at least that roundabout option is there. And I think now that I'm thinking about it more, there may be a way to give some heads up and be like, hey, here's the episodes we're watching if you want to prep ahead of time, so you can still be included, because you're not banned from just looking at a big webcam. But I don't know, it could be an interesting workaround in the event when Canada does it, or when we do the next Survivor watch party this Saturday that I just didn't announce. So but yeah, no, so that was cool. And then but yeah, outside of that, so is there anything you want to add on watch parties? Are you good?
Nah, I mean, Canada, it's frustrating to be in Canada because we get everything after the US. But on the other hand, I just choose to think like, at least we get it before like Australia most of the time. At least we get it before. We usually get it second. I can live with that.
Growing up and even now, like, do you, and this is going to sound K-Kona, like, do you look at the US as producing the best entertainment, and you guys, like, Canada's, like, they do the best they can? Like, I always wonder, like, what but as a kid, did you realize, like, oh, hey, on this CBC, like, we get some good shows, but if we watch ESPN, a little better.
Yeah. Like, I mean, I love living in Canada. However, there's like elements of American culture that I think are like indisputable. Like I'm not gonna say exclusively the best movies are made in America, because there's lots of great foreign movies. But for the most part, when we're talking about like movies that Canadians watch are 99% American, and then probably like 1% Korean Japanese. And I probably see like less than one Canadian movie a decade because I don't watch any of the Resident Evil movies. And then like for sure, like especially growing up in Canada, if you watch like Canadian TV, there's some okay stuff, but there's also a lot of garbage that is basically just like worse versions of American shows that are already kind of bad. So growing up, I watched, like American Idol, and we didn't watch Canada's Funniest Home Videos and stuff like that. Definitely, like, in a way, I think that's why Canada has like laws that are like, you have to show this much Canadian content on your television station or on your radio station, because otherwise, like, American content would just swallow the country up culturally in like one lifetime.
Growing up, would you watch this and be like, this is just, it's bad? Or would you just be like, it's just not as good as like Degrassi versus Saved by the Bell, or no?
Well, I don't know. I think Degrassi might be better. I don't know. It's tough. They're different. Nobody ever got shot on Saved by the Bell, I think.
That's true.
But I think, like, I don't know. It was just the idea that, like, in Canada, and part of it is not even that I lived in Canada, is that I lived in a smaller town instead of living in like a big city. But watching American TV, you were always like, oh, jealous, because you're like, oh, look at how many fried chicken chain restaurants they have down there that we're getting the ads for but can't go to. I've never been to a Popeyes or a Zaxby's or a Bojangles. Like, I've only all we got is KFC and Mary Brown's.
What's Mary Brown's?
Mary Brown's is like the best smelling fried chicken restaurant in Canada.
It's called Mary Brown's. What's the logo?
It is it's a lot like the Wendy's logo. Uh-huh. She has brown hair. It's like a legally distinct Wendy's logo.
Is it still an active franchise?
It is, yeah. It's mostly east, like Ontario and east of that, but
I've never heard of Mary Brown's in my entire life. But bro, from Mary Brown's to one of the things I've got juiced up to do over the past weekend is I booked a couple podcast guests for interviews, and yesterday I interviewed Krendor, and one of the things that he brought up in conversation that I wanted to bring up to you about is, and we've touched about it a little bit, but multiple income streams from what we do, right? So there's Twitch, there's YouTube ad rev, and then we talked about Patreon before, but the one thing you and I haven't talked a ton about, and I don't know how much you want to talk about it, but is merch. I really have very limited experience in that, and I know you've done more than me over the 8 years. What's been your experience with that?
So I've only really done merch 2 times, I would say, in the past. Okay. One time was through a company that was linked up with Twitch and still does stuff with Twitch, I think, called Teespring. Mm-hmm. And this was like in 2014. The thing with Teespring was that, in contrast, a lot of other services out there that people use, like Designed by Humans, for example, they have a permanent storefront. So you go there as a consumer and you go, I want to buy a shirt. Well, I want to buy Malf's Fox Brew t-shirt. That you buy it on Designed by Humans. They print it then when you order it and ship it out. And it's like a one-to-one relationship. Teespring, on the other hand, was like, hey, for 2 weeks, we're selling this shirt. And, it's not even, this was at the time, they changed this, but we're going to set a goal at 300. If we don't hit 300 shirts sold, we're not even going to print any of them. We're going to like restart the campaign and go for like 150 or something.
You did one of those?
I did, yeah.
Okay.
So the benefit of that on the creator side is really high. Because like people, I think they're under a delusion, to be honest, of like boomer logic, where they think that, oh, like YouTube ad revenue sucks. But if you buy a shirt, you're really helping the creator out. If you buy a shirt for like $20 on Designed by Humans, the creator, and this is, I've never used Designed by Humans, but this is my assumption having looked at other permanent storefronts, the creator might get like $3. maybe $4 or $5, depending on how complicated the design on the shirt is and, you know, the quality of the shirt to begin with. So really, like, out of the $20 that you're giving, you know, I don't know, the shipping, depending on if it's free shipping, USPS might get like $2 if you live in the US. The printer's getting like $8 of that. Designed by humans maybe is taking like $5 off the top or whatever. So really, like, I'm not going to say everybody but the creator is getting a bigger slice, because the creator is literally doing nothing except promoting it. But at the same time, that's kind of the truth. So the benefit to something like Teespring is that, you know, you print all these shirts in a bundle. So instead of having to print them bespoke one by one, which costs more money, the price per unit for the shirt comes down, and you might make, I don't know, like $6 to $10 on a t-shirt, depending on the price of it, which was good. But then the problem with that was, I mean, I don't know if there was a problem with that specifically. The downside, I would say, is if you miss something, it's over, you know, like you can't get it. Or if you can get it again, like if it becomes permanently available, then there's less compulsion for people to buy it during the initial campaign. So why are you even running the initial campaign in the first place? So the other way that I did it,
real quick,
with the company.
Can I ask you about that? Do you remember what your rough number? Did you set it for like 300 shirts? I
think we sold like somewhere between 300 and 500 shirts.
But you hit whatever your mark was that you wanted to hit.
Yeah.
Okay.
The thing is, you want to, at least at the time, you wanted to set it low enough that the campaign would actually finish. Otherwise, you're like, people have, like, I don't know about you, I'd be annoyed as a consumer if I like put in my payment information for a service and then like a week later they were like, it didn't get funded. So, you know, but don't worry, we'll keep your data safe, even though you're not getting anything out of it. But then if you set your goal higher, it would bring down your unit cost, because you know, really, like, it's cheaper per shirt to print 1,000 than it is to print 25, right? So the second time I did merch, I did it with a company called District Lines, and like, I got nothing but good stuff to say, but it was the same kind of permanent storefront situation where it was like, you know, we're offering a lot of stuff, but you know, you might make like $1.50 on a mug or something like that. So, I mean, I'll talk about what we're doing with merch now.
Well, real quick,
I
got a ton of questions. When you did the 2014 segmented campaign, do you remember walking away feeling like, oh, this was worth it, this was cool, or I'll never do that again?
100%. I was like, this was super worth it.
Okay. Why did you find it was worth it?
Well, people like the merch, for one, and like the Teespring stuff, it's not the best quality, but it's definitely far from the worst. Like, I think it's better than average. And then like it was just like a win-win situation. Like, shirts were not that expensive unless you lived overseas, where the shipping is out of my hands and was also like staggering. So I apologize for that, but that also is true with like a lot of the merch solutions that are US based. Is like, even like and it's annoying because like you would buy a shirt and it's printed in like Maine, and if you wanted it shipped to California, it's like $2. If you wanted it shipped 30 miles north across the border, it's like $20, which makes no sense to me.
Okay.
But anyway,
so in 2014, so you do that again. When did you open the District Lines?
It was like 2016, but it was pretty, like, it was short lived because the merch didn't really like do numbers. So, you know, and that's about the long and the short of that story.
Did you not?
That at some point, I think both myself and the like distribution partner were just like, we should just kind of can this because it's not really crushing it right now.
Do you attribute that to designs, to you not promoting it? Like, what did you take away from it? Doesn't sound like as positive an experience as the first one.
It's honest. I mean, it's a lack of promotion. So that for sure that falls on my shoulders. Really what I did was just put it in like the video description at all times. And then, but the problem is, it's like, I don't mean to sound ungrateful, but
you're getting a buck for a shirt. What's your incentive?
Yeah, exactly. Part of the reason there was a lack of promotion, if somebody subscribes to me on Twitch, then I get a bigger slice than if somebody pays $20 to buy a shirt. So I'm like, I would rather just have you buy a subscription or even use your Prime subscription. So I think that was, I've come to the, and I think, you know, we have friends who have different philosophies about merch. Like they see it, instead of seeing the merch as a revenue stream, it's like a way for, I mean, to put it in like a business sense, it's for like brand deepening. Like they have a closer relationship with the brand because they bought a mouth hat or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like this bad boy right there.
Ooh, that is kind of nice. Before
But
I know people
yeah.
are want to know about what your merch stuff is. I want to give them the squirrel on skis though. You know what squirrel on skis is?
I've seen the ESPN video.
Yeah,
Okay.
so it's like, hey, you can see the squirrel on skis after the commercial. I just want
Yeah,
to tell
yeah,
you
yeah.
my one experience with merch because I think a lot of people want to hear about your new merch store, so they can wait a second. But the only merch I've ever done, I think I've told you about this maybe a few months ago. Like I'm like, all right, I'm gonna design something I want to wear. I would look through all that stuff. I'm like, I wouldn't wear that. Da 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 da. So I sourced and like I bought all these hats. I'm like, these fit perfect. They're amazing. I remember I ordered like 10 or 12 different black hats, like just samples. I'm like, no. I went through, did all the work, did the design, had them embroidered, like made exactly what I would want. And then I said, all right, like I went through the whole process and like, all right, I'm gonna print 50 of these, 50 of these, and then sell them and see how they go. So I like took the inverse approach. Like I did everything from source to shipping all the way out. And what I found,
like you shipped it yourself. You had them made like locally, but you were going to the post office with the.
I mean, it was done in my office. Like my office assistant from my other business, like shipped everything, but like essentially, yes. So that was all done, and I walked away from that being like, man, next time, because it was fine. Like it was, I looked at it as like, all right, let me make something I want to wear, and then see if people like it, and it sold pretty well. But if I were to ever do it again, it would be like, what do you want? And then we'll make it, because it didn't really work like I thought it did. But so I've never really had an experience like you with like, hey, it's just drop shipping, like whatever, you do nothing, you put up the logo and that's it. So, but I'm definitely like, I'm starting to think about that more, but from thinking about it, the executing on it is kind of where you're at. So what's going on with your current state of merch?
It's interesting that I didn't know that you did that. But what's funny is that the way that you're doing it is kind of the philosophy that has led me to doing it the way that we're going to do it. Now, when I talk about this, I just want to couch this in the reality, which is that we started this conversation before the explosion of a global pandemic that has disrupted supply chains and shipping networks worldwide. So it's taken longer than expected, but I think that's understandable. So really what happened is like, I had the burst of energy in like January, February, and I was like, I want to do merch. People want merch, but I don't want to just throw up a store or do like a Teespring campaign. There's nothing wrong with that, but I think like the community, first off, they've been waiting forever. So I think they deserve something a little cooler. And secondly, I think I have a unique community that is like, incredibly supportive. So I think that affords me the opportunity to try something a little bit more ambitious. So I had kind of two things simultaneously. The first thing is I talked to David, who, for people who don't know, is my like manager / publicist. And I said to David, like, hey, we've got like a unique community within, the online content creator scene. What do you think about like approaching labels and brands and trying to do some kind of like collaboration or crossover? And I'm not saying like we're going to be doing like a Louis Vuitton style, like egg bag or something like that. But I was like, like even when you go to PAX, there's like I Am 8-Bit or, Fan Gamer and stuff like that. Like these companies that make like nerd merchandise that maybe instead of just being like, here's a t-shirt with my face on it, we could be like, hey, we're doing a limited time crossover with a company that we can leverage not only their like distribution solutions that can ship worldwide, but also they probably have, I don't know, either factories somewhere that they could have work on this and stuff like that. So that was like, that's something that's still going on right now. That's just kind of like permanently in the back burner because David is less able to network now that every major convention and event worldwide is canceled for, the next 8 to 30 months. But the other thing is, I think Jay talked to me, actually, Wolves at My Door. And he mentioned, he basically pitched me and was like, hey, I heard you were doing merch. Here's what I do. And I've done it for like these content creators over time. And like, here's the numbers we can expect and stuff like that. And I told him what I wanted out of something like that. And what I wanted was, I thought like pretty ambitious. I want something that looks good to wear, even if you're not like a super fan that would just be wearing it as like a badge of authenticity or whatever. So I wanted to look cool, and you and I both know Jay's capable of making stuff that looks not just like acceptable and adult, but even trendy.
Real quick sidebar on Jay, yesterday I popped into his stream and he launched merch. It's really amazing. I just got to tell you, because it ties into Jay. He launched his merch. He started up Animal Crossing. He walked into an Animal Crossing shop. He had the merch he was about to sell in there, puts it on. That's how he announces it. I think it was at like 7:30 or something. I get in there at 7:45. I do exclamation point merch in his chat. Sold out. This, for people that don't know, Jay is a phenomenal designer, but he has like seasons of merch and it all sells out. So that's who Ryan's talking about when we talk about wolves at my door, who he's tapping. Like, this dude is not like, no disrespect, not slapping a logo on a t-shirt and being like, hey, like this, he's very talented at it and very creative. So that's a sidebar. So you went to Jay and said, it's got to look cool.
It's got to look cool, for one. And then secondarily, I'm not going to shy away from this because this is the podcast that we're on. Yeah. But I was like, if I'm putting time into this to make like good looking merch, I also want it to be good for me on the revenue side.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to pump like 200 hours into this and then get paid $4 a shirt. And, you know, maybe like I make a decent amount of money on it, but I could also just be recording videos in that time instead for like more.
Making more money.
Like, exactly. Yeah. Making more money. And then the third thing was, and it seems like it counteracts the second thing, but it actually doesn't, for reasons I'll say in a second. But it was, I don't want to like bend the customer over and be like, hey, just because you're fans, a t-shirt is $40, you know? Just because you're fans, a hoodie is $110 or something like that. I was like, I want like 20, maybe $25 t-shirts if possible. Hoodies like under $50, like stuff that is reasonable to purchase. I see a lot of like influencer merch and I'm like, it's like $80 for a hoodie. And I have $80 hoodies, but like they're not $80 hoodies because they've got like somebody's face on them. They're $80 hoodies because like they're made of good materials. They come from, you know, stores that are nice, basically. So, and then the fourth thing was like, I don't want to call any like suppliers out, but I was like, I don't want to print on garbage shirts. Like if people buy a shirt and it's like $20, then I don't want that shirt to like have a neck that is all worn out in like 3 washes. So Jay was like, oh, that's totally fine. Like so basically here's how, and like I'm going way over.
No, this is very interesting.
So Jay was like, okay, he basically worked up a spreadsheet for me because he works with a local printer. And he was like, here's the downside of everything that you said. In order to do that, what we have to do it in bulk. We're not going to do it like a ship to order or print to order service. We're going to do it in bulk, but on the front end, like it's going to cost you maybe like $5 to $10 grand to get this started, because we're going to print like, you know, 300 of this shirt, 300 of this shirt, 100 hats with like a different style, et cetera, et cetera. But what it'll do is also it'll make the margins so that we can print on high quality stuff and sell it at a level that's not insanely expensive, and there's still a margin for both of us to come out ahead on it. So I was like, you know what, that seems equitable. So he did the design, had it printed locally. He's already had the merch for like a month. He shipped out printed and done. Wearable,
all of it.
I think all of it. Yeah.
Wow.
And then he sent me samples that are currently mired in the American Post Office Service trying to make their way to Canada. They've been en route for like a month, and they crossed the border like last week. So once I get the samples, because we're trying to do this as right as possible, once I get the samples, if they're the quality that I expect, we'll sign off on that and get it going. And then basically you should be able to go to what essentially amounts to a Shopify site and be like, this is just like Jay does for himself. This is like season 1 egg merchandise. You know, we got a few hundred of each item. When it's gone, it might not be gone forever, but it's like, it might be gone forever. Yeah. So that's where we're at right now. We're like, I would say we're like 2/3 of the way to getting it in motion. And I'm excited because it really should be the best of all worlds. And I'll say, like, in terms of like the priority, at the end of the day, if I break even or lose a little bit on the merch, that's not that big of a deal, even though it's obviously not what I want. It would just be a learning lesson. That's like, okay, maybe we will just do a Teespring campaign or like a design by human store with no overhead. But if it makes like high quality merch that's relatively cheap for people to purchase and it comes out and people actually want to wear it in public, that's like a win-win as far as I'm concerned.
So a couple questions on the design, without like giving anything away. What was that process like for you? Someone, you know, like, I'm not knocking your design ability, but like you do thumbnails. Like, I don't know your creative abilities beyond that.
I would
like,
never design my own clothing.
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
So how was that process?
Jay came to me with some designs and was like, how does these? And I was like, this is the greatest looking thing I've ever seen in my entire life. And I said, that sounds cool.
Was there any element of you that wanted to present it to your community for feedback? You're just like, hey, I'm going to take the vision and just let's go with it.
Yeah, I was more like, let's just send it.
Okay. And then
like, I don't like the stake in it is high, but at the same time, I'm like, it's kind of like it's worth it just to get the frictionless sort of like start out there. And I think like no matter what, people are going to be like, I'm interested in picking it up. If some of the feedback that we get is like, hey, I like this, but I'd like something more that was like a cartoon bald guy, then we can like do something like that in the future. But at the same time, like I think it's worth giving it a shot.
And then the other thing, there was when you were talking about your upfront investment, I don't know if you saw it, but in chat, it was just all like Monk-esque. Like, that's like, it's not like putting 50 or $100 into a pot and like hoping the dice roll. Like, that's a significant investment. Like, when you made that, like, and clearly it's not like, you know, we both know Jay. He's not like, you know, he's not lying. It's like that. This is what it takes to do it. Was there any reservation? Like, how did you process that? You're like, oh, it's just the price of doing business, brother.
Okay, well, like, to pull the veil back like super far, like we have an LLC, so the LLC gets the money and then pays us a salary effectively. So we got like, you know, to pay that amount of money on a personal level is a lot, obviously. To pay that amount of money for the business, it's not that it's not a lot, but it's like, it's almost like that it isn't even our money. So to spend business money on a business investment, like it kind of makes sense. It's like an operating expense.
Yeah, I mean, it's tax anyways, but no. And then also you're
yes,
you're also gambling the fact that like it's pretty secure in the fact that you think at least there's a majority shot you're gonna at least make your money back.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So
and the idea, like, it just, I mean, it's really, I think it's the only way to get. Like, the only loss is that there is a risk in that, like, okay, maybe we put like I don't know the exact number. Maybe we put like 5 to 10 grand into the thing. And if it's not like nobody's going to buy a shirt. Yeah. So let's say we only sell 50% of the supply. We make back half of our stake. Like, okay, it's an operating loss. That's fine. But it's really the only way to do that, I think, and also get high quality merch at a reasonable price that has good margins. Like, which is why, like, I mean, I don't want to blow up Jay if this was like privileged information, but he was like, all those permanent storefronts, you know, every time like you sell a shirt, the merch solution that you're using is like making a shirt than the creator is making, and the consumer is also paying too much for what's a relatively low quality product. Not to say they're like going to blow out in like 2 wears or washes or anything like that, but you could do better. Yeah, is what I'm trying to say. So I was like, I'm willing to put some skin in the game up front to try to make it work. And if it works, that's great. Like, you know, we can quintuple up. We could do it like 3 or 4 times a year. And if it doesn't work, whatever, you know, like we took a stab at it and it's fine. Yeah, no, I think it's interesting because for you to hit those boxes, I was thinking like, you know, you got to do that. But I think it'll be interesting for people to hear you say, look, like, this is like, to put this thing together, it wasn't just upload a PNG file and let it rip. In terms of expectations for you, do you have any expectations in what happens? I expect to sell out for sure. I mean, I'll be honest, like the numbers that Jay gave me as like, here's like what I would put at like a minimum level. I was like, not in terms of sales, but in terms of like You
volume.
know, I think he pitched me on like a conservative solution that was like, this is low risk to you, and I was like, let's crank that up a little bit. Like let's really give it a chance to be like, because here's the thing, maybe like our first goal, he was like, hey, we'll print like 100 of each, and I was like, I'm sure that like I do appreciate less risk, but at the same time, I think there's going to be some annoyed people that are like, you know, oh, I wasn't in the first 100, so I couldn't do it. So we cranked that number up a little bit, which is riskier for us, but at the same time, I think it'll lead to less annoyed people and still be a pretty good like case study for, you know, how this is going to work more medium term or even long term.
And then just put you on the super hot spot here. What are your thoughts about, like, so say you get the merch in the next couple weeks, what are your thoughts about launching it during financially uncertain times? Like, does that play at all? And you're like, I'm already halfway to the finish line, let's just go and let it rip?
We had like a conversation about that basically, because like we got this all started maybe in like early February, and then like in March he was like, so I mean this stuff is obviously gonna like mess with things a little bit, do you still want to do it? And I took like a day to think about it, and I was like, you know what, let's just let it rip. You know, again, it's I think that you could be like, well, there's a couple of reasons why I said let it rip. One is this thing could be going on in 2022 still, so I would rather give it a try, and then like if Corona screws it up somehow, at least I didn't wait 2 years for it to be over and it's still kind of, you know, going on. So like that was one reason, and then the other reason I was like, you know, I think that I don't want it to sound like we're capitalizing on the quarantine or anything like that, but in some ways I kind of look at this as a unique time that's like, you know, this is a good time to experiment because things have never been like this before and may never be like this again. So why not try to put some pressure into areas we've never put pressure into before and see, you know, maybe this is a horrible time to sell merch because unemployment is soaring and disposable incomes are low. Maybe it's a great time to buy merch because people are watching the stream more and they're like, oh, I would really like to, you know, support this guy or something like that. So like, I think that really what we're doing is just trying it out in the conditions as they are right now. And if it works or it doesn't work, we can do the postmortem later instead of before the stream being like, or before selling the stuff being like, this is why it won't work, this is why it will.
So it goes back to the prophecy of, hey, let's spend 20 hours getting our Twitch graphics ready, the alerts perfect. It's like, just hit the stream button, see what happens, and we'll deal with the what happens after.
Exactly.
I think it's cool, and I think, you know, on my end, like I always see people do merch, and like there's been some really cool stuff that I've seen, like, oh, that's awesome, and then there's stuff where you're like, oh, good for them, you know, like that. But I think it's exciting, and like when you talk about Jay's way of doing things, like I can see in my head, like he had this yellow season of gear, and like I remember going onto the site, I'm like, this looks like a real professional site. Like nothing against like Teespring or anything like that, but you can look at, you go to the site and you're like, oh yeah, this feels like this person's site where like the icon has changed. But like you go to Jay's site and it feels like a boutique, you know, fashion, or, you know, like a and so I think that'll be cool. I didn't know, you know, so is Jay doing the shipping and everything too, or is that all done through
yeah
okay,
like he's basically like a, I don't know the real word, but he's like a farm to table solution, more or less. Like I guess he has a local printer, and then, you know, the printer also has like a distribution network as a result of the fact that they probably ship to other, or for other reasons than just content creation. But like, I think what it came down to for me was like, it was really, this is all, and I'm glad you keep bringing up that channel update that I, you know, made in 45 minutes in January, but it's still become like almost a mission statement for me in 2020, that when things start to go off the rails a little bit, I go back to that and like try to recapture some of that energy. Is like, I think that there's a lot of reasons to do merch, and I don't think that there's really a bad one. But the way that I've done it in the past is definitely like, essentially, to put it as cynically as possible, it was like, sell the merch because people like you, so they'll buy it no matter what. So you're almost trading like some of your public image. I mean, not in a negative way if the merch is good, but you're leveraging your public image exclusively to sell stuff. And what I thought about this time was like, what if, and it was really like pie in the sky thinking, especially like collaborating with a label to do something. But what if we instead were just like, hey, we have more resources than maybe the average content creator, and we can leverage that as an opportunity to make some really special stuff. And maybe it could be like a win for everybody involved, instead of just like, hey, if you like this, please buy my merch, because it's just another revenue stream.
No, and that's interesting. I mean, my opinion on it, not that you asked, is I feel like, hey, you wanna learn how to shoot free throws, you go to Michael Jordan. You wanna have a wicked wrister, go to Wayne Gretzky. But I know that Jay, knowing Jay as a friend, like he genuinely loves like merchandising and creating clothing lines. So I think this could like, it's really cool for you, because you're like, hey, like I know, like I didn't know, we had talked a little bit about merch, not a ton, but like I figured you might go like the Teespring route. I'm like, yeah, I'll buy something just to support him. But now I'm like, okay, like now it's actually probably, if Jay's deciding to get, I'm like, okay, yeah, no, maybe I'll buy a little bit more, because it'll actually, I can support you, but also it'll be cool, So, but I think for Jay, it's also cool because if this works, which I would place a bet that it is going to work, then it's like, it could be something awesome for Jay, where he like, it's kind of like the branding stuff he does. It's when you see Jay's branding on the Twitch side of things, it's just special. It's a little bit different. And I just know that how much he loves that. So for you to have the insight, or at least to consider that, I think it's really cool, because you have someone who's really talented and someone who wants something that the talented person can make, but doesn't want to do it in the, traditional fashion. I think it's gonna be really cool. I'm excited for you. So there's got to be like a little juice on your end too, of like,
oh yeah,
once you get the samples, like, have you thought about, I mean, this is a whole nother conversation, but have you thought about how you're going to market it and like put some gas into that?
Well, I was hoping like if we get the samples soon, that I could just post like a tweet basically of wearing them. I'm lucky enough to live in a city where we could do some pretty impressive looking marketing photos just with our camera phone and the mountains in the background. So I'm hopeful that within the next little bit it'll be there. But I can check that right now. Let me see if it's en route still. It took a long time just to get over okay, it's not here, but as of 1 week ago, it is in the country.
Okay. And then you talk about leveraging, because I want to flip this at you and get your opinion on this. You talk about like leveraging your image, or leveraging the fact that people like you for money. And something happened to me. It's the past month or two, or a couple months. I'm going to explain it very quick. Have you ever heard of Cameo? You know what Cameo is?
Oh, yeah.
So Cameo is this site where you can log on, and there's just like a directory of people, and you could go on there and be like, hey, so-and-so send me a video message for like $50, $25. And they've been emailing me for like a year. I'm like, no, I do that for people. They just DM me like, and then I'm like, I posted something on Instagram. Someone's like, hey, Dan, do you have a Cameo? I'm like, no, but I've never really looked at it either. And this is like not gaming stuff. This is like the reality TV stuff. And then I went on there, and I'm like, I'm looking through the people, and I'm like, okay, there's some people on here. And then I'm like, oh my God, Marcel's on here. I'm going to pay $50 for Marcel to make a video message for my dad for his birthday. I'm going to do it. And I'm like, do I do this? But and I'm struggling. I'm like, okay, let me just type in Survivor. I'm like, there's Boston Rob. I'm like, would I pay, I think $100 to get a video message from Boston Rob? Maybe not for me, but maybe as a gift for someone else. Because the cool thing you start to see is like, you'll see people's reactions to like opening those. And then I'm like, they've been emailing me a lot. There's been people asking me, but I don't know. Like, it feels almost too much like what you're saying. But at the same time, I'm gonna be honest, it's not like leveraging the gaming audience, because I'm very like protective of that. It's like leveraging the other side, which I'm not saying I'm not protective, but like if it push comes to shove.
Like what percentage of your Big Brother 14 and 10 castmates are on Cameo?
There's a lot of Big Brother people, but I would say it's not like you can see how many people have like the ratings of, there's some people on Big Brother that have a rating, and there's some people on Big Brother that have like a couple hundred ratings, So I don't know. There's just something like when you said leveraging, and I'm like, I would never use Cameo. I'm like, this sounds like a bad idea. And then when you go to check it out, you're like, I may have just spoiled your birthday present, but like, there's like someone that you like. Say there's someone on there's 90 Day people all over that. There's Love
That's
Island.
Like the career path for 90 Day. It's like there's only three places you go after being on 90 Day. Nowhere. Maybe you get on TLC Pillow Talk so you can be the commentators that talk about 90 Day. And then the other one is just you're on Cameo doing like, $50 messages for people that probably are laughing at you, to be honest. But
yeah, that was,
I'm uncomfortable with it for sure. Like sometimes, and like it happens. I get messages from people that are like, hey, could you record like a video message for like, particularly the classic one is like, it's my boyfriend's birthday. It's my husband's birthday or whatever, like it's our anniversary. Would people, and they're always like, we'll pay you to do it. And I'm like, I don't really want to do it for money because it feels like weird that I'm going to hold up a screen in front of my face and be like, hey, Tony, happy birthday. This is from Marissa. She says she wants me to say, hey, everybody. Like, it just feels awkward to me. It's too far for me. What I always think is like, I want to do it for free when people ask. But then what oftentimes happens is like, I go and I'm like, well, I'll do it after like my work today. And then I just never do it. And then it's like 6 months later and I see the DM and I'm like, oh crap, his birthday was like in January. I'm sorry. But and so the benefit of being on Cameo for sure is that when people sent in an order, I would do it because it comes into the queue and I don't want to get less than a 5-star rating, but I still don't think I would be comfortable with it. I would rather just say, yes, I'll do it and don't worry about the payment, or like, no, sorry, I don't have time, but I wish you the best anyway.
Yeah. I mean, like I talked to my wife a little bit about it and like initially I just go off my gut feel. My gut feel is always like, no, but I don't know what I'm going to end up doing, but if I ever do it, I look at it 2 ways. One, if someone wants a message and they like send me a DM, I would never say go to Cameo. I would just do it. So I would never like cut off doing it for free. But the other thing too, sometimes I think about is like, all right, I look at the economics of it. I'm like, all right, if it's 3 minutes and I can do that, can I do that? And does it allow me to stream more? You know what I mean? It's like, can I do that?
I understand.
But at the same time,
maybe you could stop doing your main gig and do an hour of cameos 2 times a week.
Yeah, and then just be like, all right, I'm done. But I don't know. It was just something like, at the end of the day, it still feels like kind of, for me, like it doesn't feel like the right thing to do now. So I don't know. I just think when it comes to stuff like that, I just try to listen to my gut. But I was interested in your take on it. And then my other question, do you think you would go on Cameo? Like, do you think you go on Cameo and pay for someone and send, like, if there was someone that Kate loved as like a meme gift, or no? Would you not do that?
Maybe, but like now that I have like the slightest nugget of fame, I am literally like 0% starstruck at all times. So I don't think I'd be like, why am I paying these guys? Like they're me. It's weird. I don't think I could. I don't think I would ever do it on it. It's the same reason where I would be like, if someone was like, hey, here's $50, and then, or I don't know, let's not get crazy. Maybe there's $20, and then I record something for like 90 seconds, and I'm like, you got ripped off, brother. I would be feeling the same thing when I paid for it. I would be like, this is ridiculous.
Yeah, but a video message from Marcel, 90 Day Fiance, lasts a lot.
I think she might get it from me. I don't know if I would get it for her, but she might get it from me.
All right. Well, so from Marcel and buying meme gifts and Ryan's merch, we're going to wrap the show with a few live questions. And as we wrap stuff up here, and these are a couple from last week, we'll also throw a couple live ones in here. This first one is from... Okay. And this one is from A.H. Witz. This is for you, Ryan. It says, in terms of community interactions / attempts at audience retention, how much is too much? For example, specific for NL, would sending out a group Twitch message to subscribe, subscribe in advance of an unexpected guest appearance risk to annoy people too much? So, like, I guess you get what the vibe of the question is, or no?
I think so. I think it's I think the spirit of the question, as far as I can tell, is to make it as broad as possible, is like, how often do you pitch your audience? You know, because I think to some extent we all have a pitch. You know, we, even if just saying thank you for the gift subscriptions or thank you for subscribing is kind of the pitch. It's pitching other people that are like, hey, you'll also get this if you subscribe. And like we all have panels below our streams that are kind of pitching. But I think in general, I am less comfortable than I've ever been pitching the audience, except on like once a year sort of stuff, if that makes sense. So like the merch, I'm gonna promote like crazy for sure. Because I think it's a special opportunity. But like out of nowhere, just being like, well, I mean, and it's different too. I'll pitch free content like all the time. Like if there was a video that like I thought like a really good Northernlion tries came out, but not that many people watched it, I got no problem tweeting that and being like, hey, in case you missed it, there was a really entertaining episode that came out this morning. But like in terms of asking people to do stuff for free, subscribe, like the video, leave a comment, and I'll be responding to the comments. I'll pitch, 3 times a video. But asking people specifically for some kind of financial compensation, I'm less comfortable doing that than ever before, because I mean the numbers are good, and I never the prickly thing that we've talked about with Twitch all the time is that you kind of trying to think of the best way to phrase it, but you can coerce people to financially support you. It's not really like emotional manipulation, but even just offering like a breadcrumb of attention in exchange for like $5 is enough for some people that are like, I want the whole freaking loaf, So I think you got to be really careful about that. I'm happy that I get a level of support that is amazing without having to resort to pitching, because I really do feel like I get what I deserve, or more than I deserve already. And I would feel weird about being like, hey, more of you should subscribe right now. Like right now, I'm like, I don't know. I'm only 5% of my total subscriber count away from hitting a major milestone that'll open up like a bunch of emote slots, and is a number that I had previously thought unfathomable. But even still, I'm not like, I don't want to be like, hey, if 300 people give me $5, we're gonna hit a like crazy level of,
there's gonna be emotes raining down.
Yeah. I feel really weird about promoting it, because I'm also like, I know people do it on Twitch, and I was gonna say I got nothing but love, but that's not the truth. But I don't admonish them necessarily for doing it. But I am also like, if I said that and then one person was like, here's 300 gift subs, I would be like, I don't feel good about that.
Someone go to NL's chat. I bet it just happened. But you bring something up, and I don't want, like, we could talk about forever. But one thing I want to ask your insight, because I don't understand. I don't understand it. But just because I don't understand doesn't mean it's right or wrong. When you go to someone's Twitch channel and they have like their number of subscribers like emblazoned, like, hey, like, here's how many subscribers we have. Have you thought of like, what is, because to me it's like, that's just not in my wheelhouse to do that. Why do you think it's a psychological thing, or you think it's just a thing? I don't know what that is.
I'm willing to admit that I think I got this backwards. Mm-hmm. My psychology and philosophy has always been, don't put that number on the screen, because, like, to be honest, what I would be worried about is if the number gets too high. If someone was like, I really enjoy the content, they would be like, well, but he doesn't need it. Even if I think Northernlion's a 9 and this other streamer that I watch is like a 6, I'm going to support the 6 because it means more to them than it does to me. So I've always been like, don't let anybody know where we're at, because people might bounce. But I think what has actually happened is like, and again, this is why I said I'm willing to get this wrong. I see streamers that have like, 15,000 subscribers. And then people are like, oh, crap, we got to get them to 20. And then they get like I see like tweets from streamers that are like, it was an unbelievable day. We got 4,500 some streamers, like, or 4,500 subscribers. Thank you guys so much. And I'm like, I think the psychology is definitely like on the, well, it's different for every person, I think, for sure. But I think it's the psychology is like, whoa, this guy's like almost at this goal. If we all band together, we can push them over. I think there's more of like a community mentality to get them over the hump than they're like. I always thought of it like Patreon, where if someone was on Patreon, what the classic Patreon move is they start the Patreon and they're like, my goal is $3,000 a month. And then the first day they cross like 5,000. And then you log in tomorrow, they've removed the public money total because they're like, I don't want you to know that we're crushing it. So that's what I thought Twitch would work like. But I think that for some streamers or communities, at least, it actually works in like the opposite way, where people are like, oh, this guy that I'm watching, I really like his content. Sure, he's got 15,000 subscribers, but I would like if he could hit 20, that would be amazing.
See, and that's interesting. I never thought about that way. I think about it like you. It's like, hey, like people be like, wow, there's a lot of people supporting Dan. He doesn't need more people to support him. But at the same time, like I try to put myself in like a viewer standpoint. When like I'll click on Summit stream and it'll be like 70,000. My mind immediately goes to, okay, 70 times X per sub. I'm like, holy cow, like that's
he should be giving us money.
No, it's like an obscene amount of money, but it doesn't affect. For me, it doesn't affect like, oh, I don't, I'm not going to subscribe. I don't subscribe to him, but like if someone did, I don't think that would affect me either way. I don't know. I just look at that. I'm like, I don't know. Like I don't think it's right or wrong. I just don't understand it. And it's not taking shots at anyone. Like people are saying, I don't understand it. But I think it's interesting that it may have like you said, it didn't even cross my mind that it could be like, hey, if someone's at like 9,800 subscribers, like they're getting at 200. I don't know. Would you ever consider putting it on your stream?
I will never say never, because my philosophy on all this stuff that, is like it ebbs and flows, right? Maybe I just lose it in like 6 years. And then if I'm tanking, I might be putting subscriber goals up on the stream. I'm not going to say that I'm never going to. Right now, like while things are going well, I definitely I feel kind of weird about it. And I mean, I don't like I really think that there's different philosophies on like Twitch and YouTube. Like on YouTube, I've been trying something new that's still like, and I should have put this on the spreadsheet, but we can talk about it next week. I've been trying to give like a like goal for videos. Mm-hmm. And really where that came from, just to get contextual, is that Sinvicta's Isaac episodes, he was talking to me about them. And he's like, on some of these episodes, I get like 8,000 likes. And I'm like, that's insane. That's like 6 times what I would get on an average Isaac episode. And, we were talking about it and I was like, it seems like the major difference, like our viewership is fairly similar. He has some Isaac episodes that pog off to like an extreme degree. So that makes for a difference in there for sure, just in terms of scale. But I was like, man, I gotta be like pushing people a little bit more to like the video more than just if you enjoyed it, click the like button. So I've been trying that, and even just asking for that is like a little uncomfortable for me, but I kind of see it as part of the YouTube game to some extent. That's like, hey, if you watch the 45-minute episode and you get like the YouTuber goes, hey, can we get 2,000 likes on this? If you get annoyed by that, I'm like, well, you watched the 45-minute episode, you enjoyed it. So like, it is what it is, but get over it. But on YouTube, I don't mind pushing stuff like that. Like I don't mind offering a subscriber goal on YouTube because it's free, But on Twitch, if I was like, oh, if we really grind today, if we get 200 subscribers, I'll stream for an extra hour. That makes me feel uncomfortable to some extent, because I kind of feel like if I could do that extra hour, I should just do that extra hour to begin with, rather than being like, hey, if you give me this much money, I'll do it.
So let's put that like thing, because I have a million questions on that like thing. Let's put it on the dock for next week. But I did say we're going to take a couple. Let's do like 2 quick live hit questions. Yeah. It says, Shane Dust says, what has been your favorite series to record?
Honestly, like it varies week to week. They're all great right now is kind of the non-fair answer. Golden Goblet, when it's tight and like all the games are good, or even when all the games are ridiculous, like this week, is a lot of fun. Northernlion tries is always fun, but some of them are great and some of them are, you know, a little bit more resident sleeper, to be honest. And then One Step from Eden is amazing. Like that game right now has unbelievable community support. And even though the viewership's not amazing, the feedback on the series is like 10 times more positive than any series I've ever done. And then Isaac is Isaac, you know. I'm in the rhythm right now and it's real good. So it's all good. How about you?
I think lifetime one of my favorite series to record was Cuphead, just because it's like it was the cross section of a game I was pogged up for, and it did really exceedingly well for the channel. And I think right now I like just doing random stuff. Like I did a Travis Scott Fortnite skin video and it did pretty well, and I'm like, hey, you know, it's cool that I can just do something that I like and that people like watching it. But there's times too when I miss kind of like what you talk about, like having like a regular, hey, here's what's coming out. So it's just that would be my first rip. And then next one, last one is so there's a bunch of questions regarding likes that we'll carry over. The last one is, this is from Pigman. It says, how much does a thumbnail affect the performance of a video in your opinion?
I think there's two ways to answer this question. Kind of. I think if your video gets sucked up by the YouTube algorithm, it can help you out a ton. Because if you look at least when I look at my analytics, the difference between a video that gets picked up to some extent by the algorithm and one that doesn't is like one that gets picked up by the algorithm for whatever reason might have 10 times the impressions. Not in terms of viewership, okay. Like the viewership might only be like 2 or 3 times, but YouTube has shown it to more people on their homepage as like a recommendation. It's shown them in the recommended videos sidebar. So in those situations, when you're talking about, you know, people seeing the thumbnail that don't know who you are at all, I think it matters a lot. The problem is you have no way to know whether the video is going to get sucked up in the first place. So you kind of got to try to knock out each thumbnail as best as you can. In terms of like a video that's going to come out and it's like episode 30 of a series that you've done a lot of or something like that, I don't think it matters as much to people that are already onboarded to your content. I think the more important thing in my mind for that is people know what the series is at a glance, and like the thumbnail gives them some idea of where in the sequence it is, and also maybe a little hint of what's going to happen in that episode. But for something that's a one-off or a unique video, or like Northernlion Tries is a really good example. I always try to make the thumbnails like good and like try to make them pop and also make it readable, because I know that like One Step from Eden episode 28 is whatever, you know, like the subscribers who already watch it are going to watch it. But something like, you know, Northernlion Tries Type Night might actually get shown to 1 million people that have no idea who I am. So the thumbnail being better is more important for sure.
I feel pretty much the same as you as on one-offs. The only thing where we differ, that I know that I put a directive out there to make sure we do something different, is on the Twitch, for me, on the Twitch VOD thumbnails of an important series, we've gotten a little bit away from it. Zane, I'm not calling you out, is on like a Dark Souls thumbnail from a VOD. I'm always like, hey, put the boss in the thumbnail, make sure, like, because I think you can catch someone, like if I like Ornstein and Smog and I'm scrolling, I'm like, I see that, and I don't know who that person is, I'm clicking it, versus like Dark Souls episode 36. So I don't know. And to me, like, so on that kind of stuff, I'm the same. But also one of the things I took from you, and I'm sure a lot of people could tell because they were confused at the beginning, is
the logo.
Yeah, I try to use it as like a branding opportunity where it's like, all right, hey, look, I may not know Dan's doing, I don't know who this Travis Scott guy is, but I recognize the logo. So it's Dan, let me give it a shot. And so I think that's where I have tried to like find some balance in the force of like making them uniform in that regard. Because I think you can, like, for you, like a first look at video, someone may snooze at a type night, but they see your logo, but like, yeah, it's Ryan, let's try it.
Yeah.
So,
and I know we're going way over time, but I think that philosophy applies to like Twitch VODs in general. Like the Dark Souls stuff that I'm doing right now, Dark Souls episode 28, 29, whatever. You know, I like it to be in a playlist and be like that so people can find it easily. But the Mario Maker stuff that doesn't have like a coherent story going from episode to episode, instead of being like, you know, hey, Northernlion plays Mario Maker on stream episode 50, I'm trying to give each one of those like a unique title and at least a semi-unique thumbnail instead of just the same thing with a number in the corner. So that, hey, maybe this is the 30th episode, but when it pops up in your sidebar and you're like trying Kaizo levels for the first time, you know, that might get more people than like, hey, the streamer plays Mario episode 30. You're like, I'm not going to click on that. It's like watching like Rocky 5 before you've seen any of the other.
All right, so thank you guys so much for tuning in. I do want to update you guys on everything because there's been a little bit of confusion. When we do a live show like today on Twitch, the YouTube videos are going to be up Friday at 6 a.m. or Saturday or Saturday.
Thursday.
Yeah.
They could be up on Friday.
Well, I don't want to. They'll be up.
No. Like I think. Let's say Saturday for this week. Okay. Let's say Saturday 3 a.m. PT, 6 a.m. ET.
So the video will be up live on Saturday, youtube.com/Northernlion at 6 a.m. Pacific, 6 a.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific. But the audio will never change. So whether it doesn't matter if we do it live or not, the audio will always be the same. YouTube or Spotify, SoundCloud, Stitcher, Google Play, everywhere. Tuesday mornings at 6 a.m. So just want to clarify that. So you can watch if you like getting this stuff a little bit earlier, you can get it on YouTube and check it out there. But everything else is going to stay the same. We want to thank you guys so much for all the love. I have not checked the analytics or reviews on the show, but I just know I enjoy doing it. I look forward to this every week, and I look forward to all the feedback and being able to kind of talk shop with Ryan. And I just want to thank you guys so much for tuning in, and we will see you guys next week. Later.